Let me tell you something few people will ever admit. Fear is not real. It is a ghost, a phantom created by your own imagination. It is the enemy within. It has no claws, no teeth, no chains, only the power you give it. Fear grows in silence, in hesitation, in the stories you whisper to yourself about why you're not ready, not enough, not worthy. But let me ask you this. What would your life look like if fear no longer ruled it? If you could destroy it forever? Because I tell you now, you can. And here's how. Fear is not something external. It is not a storm that rages outside your window, nor a force that descends from the skies to cripple your will. It is rather a creature of your own creation, built from thoughts, nurtured by hesitation, and strengthened by repetition. You were not born afraid. No child comes into the world fearing failure, rejection, or poverty. These fears are taught. They are absorbed through repeated suggestion, often by people who were too afraid to live their own lives with courage. The danger is not the fear itself, but the fact that we accept it as truth. Understand this deeply. Fear, in its most destructive form, is imaginary. It is real in its effects, yes, but not in its substance. It is like a shadow, large, looming, but incapable of hurting you unless you let it guide your decisions. Most people do not suffer from actual defeat. They suffer from the anticipation of it. They do not lose because they try and fail, but because they never try at all, paralyzed by what might happen if things don't go perfectly. And this is the tragedy. Fear robs them before life even has the chance to test them. It locks them in a cage they've built themselves. Napoleon Hill discovered through studying the most successful minds in history that fear operates in silence. It waits patiently in the background while you delay action, while you doubt yourself, while you rehearse failure in your imagination. The more vividly you picture what could go wrong, the more your subconscious mind accepts it as reality. Your thoughts, repeated enough times, become beliefs, and beliefs drive behavior. That is why fear cannot be tackled casually. It must be destroyed at the root, which is the mind itself. When you begin to question your fears, to name them, define them, and trace them back to their origin, you take away their power. Ask yourself, where did this fear come from? Is it mine, or was it passed to me by someone else? What proof do I have that this fear is justified? 9 times out of 10, you will find it is built on nothing. It's a whisper turned into a shout through repetition. But here's the good news. You created it, and that means you can dismantle it. You are not weak. You are not fragile. You are not a prisoner of the mind unless you choose to be. The mind is your most powerful ally when trained, and your worst enemy when left untamed. Destroying fear forever begins by recognizing it for what it is, a lie, a well-dressed lie disguised as caution. Fear will tell you to wait until you're ready. But understand this. No one who ever did something extraordinary was ready when they started. They simply acted and let faith carry them through. That is your power. That is your truth. And it begins the moment you stop believing the fear that never belonged to you in the first place. When you have a definiteness of purpose, fear is a mere distraction, a fleeting cloud that cannot block the light of your focused intention. You see, people who succeed in life don't waste time worrying about what might go wrong. They are too busy thinking about how they will make their dreams a reality. They understand something that most people overlook. Purpose is the antidote to fear. Without purpose, without a clear, burning desire for something greater, fear finds fertile ground. It creeps in during moments of doubt and hesitation because your mind has no fixed direction, no mission to keep it focused. But once you define your purpose with certainty and commitment, fear loses its power. A clear, defined purpose is more than just a goal. It is a magnetic force that pulls you forward with unwavering energy. It is the engine that drives your actions, keeping you on course no matter the obstacles in your way. The moment you make up your mind about what you want in life, you transform your thoughts into directed energy. That energy becomes the fuel for your ambition, the force that propels you through challenges, and most importantly, the shield that guards you against the destructive whispers of fear. Fear cannot exist in the presence of purpose because purpose demands forward motion, and forward motion leaves no room for hesitation or doubt. Consider the greatest achievers throughout history. Each of them had a singular burning purpose that defined their path. Whether it was Thomas Edison, whose purpose was to create a light that could brighten the world, or Henry Ford, whose purpose was to build a car for the masses, each of these men had a dream that surpassed the normal scope of ambition. They were driven by something bigger than just themselves. And when you set your sights on something bigger than the distractions of fear and failure, you push fear aside because it no longer holds significance. You have a mission that calls you forward. Now, you might ask, how do I define my purpose? The answer is simpler than you might think. Purpose is not something that falls out of the sky. It is created through action, reflection, and desire. You don't need to have all the answers right now. What matters is starting. Once you take that first step toward defining what you truly want, the path becomes clearer with every action you take. Purpose isn't a static thing. It grows, evolves, and adapts as you pursue it. But the key is to start with decisive action. You might not see the entire road ahead, but each step you take will light the way. Purpose also provides clarity. When you are focused on a singular goal, your decisions become clearer, your priorities sharper. Fear often emerges when we are uncertain, when we are unsure of where we are going. But when you are driven by a clear purpose, your steps are bold. Each decision, each action is made in alignment with your purpose, and that brings with it the confidence to face any fear that might arise. The journey becomes less about avoiding fear and more about using your purpose as a guide to push through it. So, remember this: purpose conquers fear. Once you define your purpose, fear becomes irrelevant. Your desire for success, your hunger for achievement will outweigh any hesitation or anxiety. Fear, by nature, thrives in the absence of purpose, but with purpose it has no place to root itself. Define your mission, ignite your desire, and watch fear fade into the distance. Action is the great enemy of fear. It is the antidote that weakens the grip of doubt and paralyzes the illusions that fear creates. Fear thrives in the stillness, in the hesitation, and in the overthinking that comes from remaining inactive. But when you take action, even the smallest step, you cut off the oxygen that fear needs to grow. Hill made it clear. Motion destroys emotion. When you move, when you engage in action, you force yourself to confront fear in its raw form and neutralize it through momentum. It's easy to believe that fear will go away if you think about it long enough. People often wait for the perfect moment to act, or they convince themselves that they need more information, more preparation, more confidence. But waiting only allows fear to fester. It gives it time to grow and solidify in your mind. The truth is, you will never feel fully prepared. You will never feel completely confident before taking the leap. That is not how success works. Success comes to those who act, not those who wait for all the stars to align. The power of action lies in its ability to shift the mind from an emotional state to a logical one. Fear is rooted in the unknown, in what might happen and what could go wrong. But when you take action, you begin to experience the reality of your circumstances. You learn, you adapt, you grow. The act of moving forward provides a reality check that fear simply cannot withstand. The more you move, the more you see that your fears were exaggerated or unfounded. You become a problem solver in real time, and fear starts to dissolve as you take control of your situation. When you hesitate, you give fear the space to flourish. You start to entertain thoughts like, what if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if people judge me? These thoughts grow stronger when you give them room to breathe, but once you take action, you start to answer those questions with reality. You fail, you learn. You're not good enough, you improve. People judge you, you keep going anyway. Action transforms the unknown into the known, and the unknown is where fear resides. It's not enough to simply take action once. The key is consistent action. Even the smallest step, taken consistently, builds momentum that neutralizes fear. Think about the most successful individuals you admire. They didn't start out knowing everything or being fearless. They simply started and they kept going. Action is the bridge that connects your current state to your desired future. With each step you take, you close the gap, and as you do, fear has less and less power over you. Moreover, action does not have to be grandiose. You don't need to make huge moves to begin. Start small. The first step may be a simple decision. It might be reaching out to someone for advice, making a phone call, writing a page in a book, or signing up for a class. These small actions create a ripple effect. Once you take the first step, the next one becomes easier, and the next even easier still. Before long, what once seemed impossible becomes not only possible, but inevitable. The key to overcoming fear is in the act of doing. You cannot think your way out of it. You cannot analyze it into submission. You must move through it. The fear will not vanish when you think about it. It will only vanish when you act, when you refuse to let hesitation rule, when you decide that you will not allow fear to keep you from your goals. You will discover an extraordinary truth. The only way to destroy fear is to act, and act swiftly. Once you begin to confront fear, expose it for what it is, and act in defiance of its grip, you must also embrace a crucial reality. Resilience is the final weapon in the battle against fear. Fear is not something that will simply vanish with a single victory. It will return again and again, testing your resolve. But each time you face it and rise above it, you build strength. The process of consistently overcoming fear is what ultimately fortifies your character and transforms your mindset. It is not a one-time defeat. It is an ongoing journey of growth, where each setback or challenge becomes an opportunity to build an unshakable foundation of courage. In this journey, it is vital to recognize that fear's power is diminished by persistence. Resilience is not about never experiencing fear. It is about continuing to move forward despite it. When you understand that fear is a constant companion on the road to success, you stop giving it power over your actions. You accept it as part of the process, not as an obstacle, but as a sign that you are on the right path. Every time fear shows its face, it is an opportunity for you to practice your strength, to reassert your determination, and to reinforce your purpose. Hill taught that resilience is built through the repeated application of faith. Faith, in this context, is not just a religious or spiritual concept. It is a belief in yourself, your purpose, and your ability to persevere. Faith is the force that propels you forward when fear urges you to retreat. It is the belief that every challenge you face is an opportunity to prove your character and further your purpose. As you develop faith in your own capabilities, fear loses its hold on you. It can no longer paralyze you because you know that you are capable of facing it, no matter how difficult the circumstances may seem. Furthermore, resilience requires you to develop mental toughness, the kind of mindset that refuses to be swayed by momentary setbacks. It requires you to treat each failure as a lesson rather than a defeat. In fact, failure is not the opposite of success, it is part of success. Each failure you experience provides you with valuable insights that strengthen your resolve. Resilience is the ability to see failure not as a reflection of your worth, but as a stepping stone on the path to mastery. When you fail and choose to rise again, you reinforce your belief in your ability to overcome any challenge. This mental toughness becomes a powerful tool that transforms fear from a source of paralysis to a trigger for growth. But it is not only about mental strength. Resilience is also about emotional stability. Fear often manifests as a deep emotional response, anxiety, panic, self-doubt. To build resilience, you must learn to manage these emotions effectively. The key is to detach your sense of self-worth from the emotional roller coaster that fear creates. When you face fear, your emotions may rise, but you must not let them dictate your actions. Instead, you must acknowledge your emotions, understand them, and continue to act regardless of how they make you feel. This emotional discipline is what enables you to face difficult circumstances with grace and determination. Finally, resilience is about self-compassion. It is about treating yourself with kindness and understanding, especially when fear tries to convince you that you are not good enough. Understand that setbacks are a part of the process. They are not a reflection of your inability, but a sign that you are pushing your boundaries. In moments of fear and doubt, remind yourself that you are doing the best you can, and that each step forward is progress, no matter how small. This self-compassion gives you the courage to continue, even when fear tells you to stop. Resilience is the ultimate weapon that destroys fear forever. It is the quiet strength that rises within you when you persist despite adversity. It is the unwavering belief that you can handle whatever life throws your way. And it is this resilience that will allow you to not only face fear, but to overcome it repeatedly until it no longer has any power over you at all. To truly conquer fear, you must embrace the power of a positive mental attitude. This is one of the most profound principles in the philosophy of success, and it is at the very core of overcoming fear. Fear is, at its essence, a negative emotion that clouds judgment and paralyzes action. But the antidote to negativity is positive thinking. A positive mental attitude is not simply a mindset, it is a way of life. It is the lens through which you view every challenge, every obstacle, and every setback. It is the belief that no matter the circumstances, there is always a way forward. A positive mental attitude works like a filter that allows you to focus on solutions rather than problems, on opportunities rather than obstacles, and on success rather than failure. When fear arises, it is often because you are allowing yourself to dwell on the negative possibilities. What could go wrong? What could fail? What others might think? But a person with a positive mental attitude sees things differently. They look at fear, and instead of seeing an insurmountable obstacle, They see it as a temporary challenge that can be overcome with effort, resourcefulness, and creativity. They understand that fear is simply a product of the mind, and that the mind can be directed and controlled. When you choose to focus on positive outcomes, on what you can do rather than what you cannot, you begin to reshape your entire experience of fear. The power of a positive mental attitude lies in its ability to reframe your perspective. When you face fear, you can either see it as something to avoid, or you can see it as an opportunity to grow. With the right attitude, fear transforms from a barrier into a stepping stone. Instead of paralyzing you, it propels you forward, because you understand that fear is a sign that you are venturing outside your comfort zone. And every time you venture into the unknown, you have the opportunity to expand your abilities, to refine your skills, and to strengthen your character. This shift in mindset is the key to not only managing fear, but to eliminating its control over you. Additionally, a positive mental attitude encourages self-belief. When you believe in your ability to handle whatever comes your way, fear loses its power. Fear thrives on self-doubt, on the belief that you are not capable, that you cannot succeed. But when you foster self-belief, you become immune to the destructive power of fear. Self-belief doesn't mean that you think you will always succeed without effort. It means that you have the confidence to try, to risk, and to push yourself beyond your limits. When you believe in your ability to succeed, even in the face of fear, you are more likely to take action. You trust that you have the skills, the resources, and the determination to find a way forward. A positive mental attitude also fosters resilience in the face of setbacks. Fear often arises when we experience failure or rejection, but it is in these moments that a positive mindset becomes most valuable. Instead of allowing failure to make you feel defeated or inadequate, a positive mental attitude helps you see failure as part of the process. It reminds you that every setback is temporary and that it is not a reflection of your worth, but an opportunity to learn, grow, and improve. You understand that success is not a straight line, but a series of ups and downs. And with the right attitude, you embrace each challenge as an integral part of your journey. Finally, a positive mental attitude empowers you to take control of your thoughts. Fear is, in essence, a battle within the mind. It begins with a thought, a worry, a doubt, a fear of the unknown. But when you develop a positive mindset, you take charge of your thinking. You replace negative thoughts with positive affirmations, empowering beliefs, and constructive ideas. You choose to focus on what you can do, on the actions you can take, on the solutions that are available to you. And by doing so, you weaken fear's hold over you, gradually replacing it with courage, optimism, and confidence. The power of a positive mental attitude is not a magical cure for fear, but it is the most powerful tool you have in overcoming it. By focusing on the positive, by choosing to see fear as an opportunity rather than a threat, you take away its power. And as you continue to cultivate a positive mindset, you will find that fear no longer has the same hold over you. It becomes less and less of an obstacle and more of a catalyst for your growth and success. One of the most profound realizations on the journey to overcoming fear is that fear thrives on isolation. It flourishes when you are left alone with your negative thoughts, doubts, and insecurities. However, when you surround yourself with positive influences, with individuals who uplift and support you, fear begins to lose its grip. Human beings are social creatures, and the power of connection can serve as a powerful antidote to fear. When you engage with others who believe in you, who share your vision or who have faced similar challenges, you not only gain insight, but also the emotional strength to confront your own fears. This is why building a supportive environment is essential to conquering fear. The people you spend time with significantly impact your thoughts, emotions, and ultimately your actions. If you surround yourself with those who are negative, who perpetuate doubt, or who are themselves fearful, their energy will influence you in ways that perpetuate your own fears. On the other hand, if you choose to engage with those who are positive, encouraging, and who inspire confidence, you will find that fear loses its power over you. Their beliefs in you become a reflection of your own potential. You begin to see your challenges not as insurmountable obstacles, but as part of a shared human experience, something that can be overcome through effort, determination, and support. Moreover, when you share your struggles with others, you often realize that you are not alone. Fear often convinces us that our challenges are unique, that no one else understands our pain or our fear. But in reality, everyone faces fear in some form or another. It's simply a matter of recognizing that fear is a universal emotion. When you open up to others, you invite their wisdom and experience into your life. They might share stories of how they overcame similar fears or provide strategies for navigating the difficulties you face. This exchange of ideas and experiences breaks the isolation that fear creates and helps to diminish its power. Additionally, there is a tremendous strength that comes from accountability. When you have others around you who are invested in your success, you are less likely to allow fear to dictate your actions. When you make your goals and aspirations known to those who support you, you create a level of responsibility to not only yourself, but also to them. This sense of accountability is powerful because it forces you to take action, to move forward despite your fears. You are no longer working in isolation, trying to tackle challenges on your own. Instead, you have a network of people who are encouraging you, reminding you of your goals, and holding you to your highest standard. Furthermore, engaging with others allows you to gain new perspectives. Sometimes fear clouds our judgment, making us see things in a distorted way. It tricks us into thinking that certain challenges are impossible or that we are incapable of overcoming them. But when you discuss your fears with others, they often bring clarity to the situation. They help you see things objectively and can offer solutions or ideas that you may not have considered on your own. This exchange of perspectives helps you challenge the narrative that fear creates and encourages you to take action rather than succumb to paralysis. Building a supportive environment goes beyond just having people around you who encourage you. It also means creating a space where you can speak openly and honestly about your fears without judgment. It's about finding individuals who understand that fear is not a sign of weakness, but a natural part of the human experience. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable with others, you foster an environment of trust, empathy, and understanding. In such an environment, fear loses its power to control, and you are free to take the steps necessary for your growth and success. Fear thrives in isolation because it can manipulate your thoughts and emotions unchecked. But when you surround yourself with a supportive network of individuals who empower you, your fears begin to diminish. You realize that you do not have to face challenges alone. There are people who care about you, who want to see you succeed, and who will walk alongside you as you confront and overcome your fears. In this way, connection, community, and accountability become essential tools for destroying fear and achieving success. To conquer fear permanently, you must understand that the antidote to fear is action. Fear thrives in the presence of inaction. It festers in your mind when you choose to stand still, when you choose to avoid the discomfort that comes with taking a step forward. But when you act in the face of fear, when you push through it, fear loses its power over you. Every time you take action despite fear, you weaken it. Every step you take in the direction of your goals and dreams, no matter how small, is a victory over fear. The more you act, the less fear can control you. It's important to recognize that inaction is the fertile ground where fear grows. When you allow yourself to dwell on your fears without taking any action, they become amplified. Your mind begins to focus more on the worst-case scenarios, on the possible consequences of failure, and on the uncertainty of the unknown. In this state of inaction, fear becomes paralyzing because it has no counterbalance. It consumes your thoughts and holds you in a state of perpetual indecision. It convinces you that the pain of facing your fears will be greater than the potential rewards of overcoming them. But this is simply an illusion. The truth is that the longer you delay taking action, the more entrenched fear becomes in your life. Action is the antidote that breaks this cycle of paralysis. When you take action, even if it is imperfect or uncertain, you begin to shift your mindset. You move from a place of fear and doubt to one of empowerment. Action is the proof of your belief in yourself, your faith in your purpose, and your determination to succeed. The simple act of moving forward, even in the face of fear, proves to yourself that you are capable, that you have the strength and resilience to navigate through uncertainty. Each time you act, you gain momentum, and the fear that once seemed insurmountable starts to fade into the background. Furthermore, taking action provides you with experience, and experience is the greatest teacher. When you act, you learn. You may fail, you may make mistakes, but these are all opportunities for growth. Every misstep, every setback is a lesson that makes you more prepared for the next challenge. Fear thrives on the unknown, but action brings clarity. The more you act, the more you realize that the consequences of failure are rarely as catastrophic as your mind led you to believe. You become less intimidated by the unknown because you gain firsthand experience of how to navigate it. As you continue to take action, you become more skilled, more capable, and more confident in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. Action also brings with it a sense of progress. Progress is the antidote to fear's grip. When you are moving forward, when you are seeing tangible results from your efforts, fear has no room to dominate your thoughts. You become focused on what you are achieving, on the forward momentum that is propelling you closer to your goals. The key to overcoming fear is to focus not on the fear itself, but on the action you are taking. It is in the process of doing, of pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, that you realize your true potential. And with each action, no matter how small, you build more confidence in your ability to face whatever challenges lie ahead. When you act, you create positive feedback loops that break the cycle of fear. As you take action and achieve small victories, your confidence grows. You begin to see that fear does not have the power to stop you. This new belief fuels further action, creating a cycle of success that makes fear seem less powerful with each passing day. As you continue to act in the face of fear, it gradually loses its grip on you. The more action you take, the less space fear occupies in your life. Ultimately, the way to destroy fear is to make action your default response to it. When you encounter fear, do not retreat, do not hesitate, but move forward. Even if the action is imperfect or uncertain, it is progress, and it is progress that will drive fear out of your life. Fear can only control you as long as you allow it to paralyze you. But once you choose action over inaction, you take back control, and in doing so, you gradually destroy fear forever, replacing it with the confidence, clarity, and momentum that comes from knowing you are capable of handling whatever challenges life presents. The final principle in overcoming fear is rooted in the understanding that fear cannot survive in the presence of faith. Faith, in its purest form, is not merely belief in an abstract concept. It is an unwavering confidence in your ability to overcome obstacles and achieve your goals. Fear and faith cannot coexist within the same mind. Where fear thrives on doubt and uncertainty, faith thrives on certainty and belief in your own capabilities. The key to permanently eliminating fear from your life is to cultivate a deep and abiding faith, not just in the possibility of success, but in yourself. The foundation of this faith lies in the recognition that faith is a choice, not a passive feeling that is simply given to us. It is a conscious decision to trust in your ability to rise above challenges, to succeed despite adversity, and to remain resilient in the face of the unknown. Faith is a tool, one that must be deliberately cultivated and exercised. It is not something that comes automatically. It must be built and nurtured over time. As you take action, as you continue to push forward in the face of fear, you begin to witness your own capabilities, which in turn strengthens your faith. This process of building faith is the antidote to the paralyzing effects of fear. Faith has the power to transform your perspective on fear. When you have faith, you are no longer overwhelmed by the uncertainties of life. Instead of seeing the unknown as something to be feared, you begin to see it as a challenge to be conquered, a territory to be explored. Faith allows you to take the first step. Even when you cannot see the entire staircase, it is this courage, this willingness to step forward without knowing all the answers, that dispels fear. When you place your trust in your ability to face any circumstance, fear loses its power to dictate your actions. Moreover, faith is deeply connected to your purpose. When you have a clear sense of purpose, a deep understanding of your why, fear begins to diminish. Purpose gives you direction and focus, helping you remain steadfast in the face of challenges. With purpose comes clarity of vision, and with clarity of vision comes the understanding that fear is simply a temporary obstacle standing between you and your greater potential. Faith in your purpose fuels your actions and gives you the strength to persist when fear tries to overwhelm you. It reminds you that your journey is greater than any temporary discomfort or uncertainty. In addition, faith attracts opportunity. When you believe that success is possible, that you are capable of achieving your goals, you begin to see opportunities where others might see only obstacles. Faith opens your eyes to new possibilities and creative solutions. It transforms your mindset from one of scarcity, where fear holds sway, to one of abundance, where potential and opportunity abound. Faith empowers you to act with conviction, to seize the moments that come your way, and to trust that the right opportunities will reveal themselves as you continue on your path. Another powerful aspect of faith is its ability to transcend fear of failure. One of the most significant ways in which fear manifests is through the fear of failure. Many people are paralyzed by the idea that they might fail, and this fear keeps them from taking action. However, when you have faith in your purpose and in your ability to overcome obstacles, you realize that failure is not something to be feared. It is simply a part of the journey. Faith allows you to see failure as a lesson, as an opportunity to learn and grow, rather than as a permanent defeat. With faith, failure becomes an inevitable stepping stone toward success, a necessary part of the process rather than a final outcome. Ultimately, the destruction of fear requires a fundamental shift in how you view yourself and your potential. By embracing faith, you transform your relationship with fear. You no longer see fear as something that holds power over you, but rather as something that you can confront and overcome. Faith empowers you to take action, to move forward despite uncertainty, and to trust in your own strength and abilities. When you live with faith, fear no longer has a hold on your life. It is replaced by confidence, clarity, and an unwavering belief that no matter the challenges you face, you have the power within you to triumph. Faith is the foundation that allows you to walk through the world with courage, knowing that no fear, no matter how daunting, can stand in your way.